How's it going, everyone? It's your old pal Jetter again, and I would once again like to welcome you to my little corner of YouTube. And today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 Gears 5 multiplayer tips that are crucial to your success, either in casual quick play or ranked. I guess it should be said that these tips can be used in all game modes, but can best be utilized in Team Deathmatch or Guardian game modes. Before we get into these top 5 multiplayer tips for Gears 5, if you're enjoying the video, be sure to hit the like button below, and if you'd like to stay up to date with any and all content that will be coming to the channel, smash that subscribe button and come be a part of the Jetter Gaming YouTube family. If you'd be interested, I go live on Twitch 5 days a week. The link to my channel will be posted below. Now, let's dive into these top 5 must-know Gears 5 multiplayer tips. And this brings us to tip number 1, long-range damage. For those longtime Gears of War multiplayer fans, long-range damage has been a staple favorite since the original Gears of War. Gears 5 is no different in this aspect. Whether you're using the Longshot or the Lancer, long-range damage is key to your success. As you boot up into the game and drop into your first match, Gears 5 places a heavy emphasis on the Lancer. Yes, the Gnasher shotgun is still the favorite in close-range combat, but when behind cover, the Lancer is best utilized when the opposing team is pushing forward in a wide open territory. In most multiplayer matches, the scenario is going to arise where both teams aren't pushing towards the middle of the map, making for a who will push first situation. As we will discuss in tip number 3 later on in this video, Gears 5 heavily awards players who have a more aggressive playstyle, but in this scenario, it is best to wait and let the opposing team push first. Immediately as the opposing team removes themselves from cover and begins roadie running towards your place of cover, pop up, begin laying a heavy amount of fire with your Lancer. In most cases, you will down the player due to the fact that the Lancer does a fantastic job reducing a player's roadie run speed and allowing you to do an ample amount of damage before they reach cover. Once you have downed the opposing player, the next choice you have is to either push and finish the player or sit behind and maintain your position. This brings us to our next tip, which is tip number 2, don't get greedy. After you have downed an opposing player, a natural first reaction will be to rush in, Gnasher the down player, then try to dodge back into cover. Most of the time, this is possible if you're in an area when it is just you and the opposing player. But once you reach a higher rank in a ranked playlist, usually any higher than Silver 2, you will encounter teams that stay together more often than not. This makes it extremely difficult to rush in and kill a down player without you yourself getting killed in the process. When you get any higher than Silver 2, you will need to transition to a more safe playstyle in the sense that you will need to lock down your position and move with your teammates. The more and more that you get used to following your teammates, the more you will begin to recognize when the opposing team has scattered themselves around the map. As the old saying goes, there is power in numbers. That is why this tip's name is Don't Get Greedy. This brings us to our third tip, Gears 5 awards aggressiveness. Now, I realize that this seems a bit hypocritical to the past 2 tips, but once you get the hang of the weapons in Gears 5, this tip will become apparent. When I say that Gears 5 awards aggressiveness, I don't mean that you should push every single chance that you get. I mean that when there is an opportunity to push across the map safely, you should do so and put yourself in a position either behind cover where you can surprise any oncoming enemies, or get higher ground where you can lay down cover fire for your teammates. This is definitely true for maps like Bunker. On Bunker, it is essentially a fight for the middle of the map. If you and your teammates are able to push to the middle of the map at the start of the match, it will make it very difficult for the opposing team to lock down a position on the map and force them to continually push your position until they are successful. Be careful though, and always keep a close eye on the power weapons placed throughout each map. These power weapons can be a game changer if placed in the right hands. This is a perfect segue to our next tip, which is tip number 4, power weapons. In my opinion, power weapons have a completely different feel in Gears 5 than in any other Gears of War. I enjoy the fact now that I have a fighting chance against an opposing player wielding any of the power weapons offered in Gears 5. Not only is obtaining a power weapon in a multiplayer match crucial, but being able to combat against an opposing player with a power weapon is essential as well. Gears 5 has done a much better job at leveling the playing field whether or not an opposing player is wielding a Lancer GL or a normal hammer burst. In my opinion, an enemy is going to do a ton more damage if you sit back and let them use their power weapon unimpeded. The best course of action is to evaluate how many enemies are surrounding the player with the power weapon and decide if you, by yourself or as a team, are able to push and take out the opposing player. Most of the time, in team deathmatch, the enemy team will be spread out to where you'll be able to take this opposing player out with ease. The real challenge is when you're playing Guardian and the leader has the power weapon, as well as being surrounded and protected by the entire team. This game mode will require crucial team tactics if you're to create any sort of winning streak in Guardian Ranked playlist. Overall, it is best to get the power weapons as much as possible, especially late game, as this can severely decide the result of a match. This brings us to our final Gears 5 tip. Tip number 5, cover, dodge, Nasher. Last but not least, cover, dodge, Nasher may be the most important tip in this video. If you're to leave this video with having learned one thing, this would be the tip that I would want you to leave with. There will be countless times where it will be you and an opposing player staring at each other between the same concrete barrier. But who attacks first and who will do it correctly will decide who comes out victorious. There's a very simple tactic to surviving this encounter, and it involves just 3 simple movements. 1. Placing yourself behind the cover that the enemy has barricaded themselves behind. 2. Dodging out either left or right from out the cover. 3. Pushing back towards the enemy and using your Nasher to either down them or eliminate them entirely. The reason that this is better than just attacking directly straight forward is that it eliminates the ability for the opposing player to immediately peek from behind cover and pop shot Nasher you. Even if after you dodge he's able to get a hit on you, it will not be enough damage to down you, still giving you enough time and health to push for the elimination. This will prove to be helpful on every single map that you compete on, since 95% of the battles you will face early on will be Nasher battles. I know that I said this was the last tip, but I'd like to leave you all with a special bonus tip for those playing on PC or using a mouse and keyboard. So I guess this would be tip number 6, place your active reload on the spacebar. I have found that placing your active reload button on your spacebar can drastically make a difference. I have taken my roadie run button and my cover dodge button and placed those on my mouse and added my active reload button to my spacebar, allowing for my left hand thumb to focus solely on the timing it takes for each individual weapon to active reload. With enough practice, you'll be able to active reload without even looking at your screen, making it one less thing to focus on in tough close quarter battles. This is one of the most important things you must do if you're playing on PC. I truly hope that these tips are useful for you as you step into the Gears 5 multiplayer. What tips that weren't mentioned in this video did you find crucial to being successful in Gears 5? Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date with all content coming to the channel. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and once again, if you'd like to tune in live, you can follow me on Twitch. All social media links will be posted below. Thank you so much for the support, and as always, see you next time.